Dun, dun, dun.
I don't even know if I still have that app on my phone.
I 100% still have that app on my phone.
It probably is,
Confirm
but
we're
my
live.
phone's upgraded like 7 times in like the last 2 months, so I don't know what got knocked out because I barely use it.
Alright, probably not a bad time to take recoveries and things if you haven't done so yet, or roll for spell recoveries.
I should
Oh yeah,
probably
we're
do it.
nearly
Funny, that'll help.
dead.
Yeah, most of us are nearly dead.
Probably turn this off for now. It's not too warm.
I actually don't think I used anything that has a recovery. I mean, I used Otherworld Shadow, but that's just the daily.
Yeah, that's done when it's done.
Yeah, no, I didn't use any of my stuff, so I'm just gonna roll recoveries.
Okay. Add and subtract on your own. As I give the introduction. Welcome to Voices in the Wilderness, a 13th Age adventure. When we last left our heroes, they journeyed through a spooky forest, only it was less spooky and more magically confusing. After very, very successfully navigating some traps and very unsuccessfully navigating a checkpoint, they found their way to a research facility.
We almost died.
Yeah, boy howdy.
That in turn separated them all.
And we almost died.
We found out that we cannot coexist without anybody else.
What is this almost died thing?
You were already dead.
Okay, yeah, it doesn't count for you, Malkesh. You started dead.
He started dying.
I did
Then
start
he was
dying.
better. And then you got better, so it wasn't that bad.
It could have been a lot worse.
That said, after some double-edged help from the tailing Florentine, as well as some aggressive aerial gardening, our heroes did come out on top. However, the strangest discovery was that the research chief did seem to have demonic graphs. And it's at this point we return to our heroes.
Aggressive aerial gardening is the name of the Karma Sutra book for the Wood Elves.
Oh my god.
All right. Well, I mean,
Well, that's a thing now.
they are in a very, very tall tree, so
Yeah?
shocking. There's at least 30 pages devoted to flying wood.
And first aid associated.
It's got its own section.
Half the book is dedicated to flying wood, the other half is dedicated to aftercare.
I was gonna say, the other half is dedicated to those who died.
Chapter 38. Chapter 38. What to do if you break your head. Chapter 39. What to do if you break your head.
Yup. I think we all need to answer the real question, though, about Hanao's aerial gardening. Is the tree okay?
The tree is fine.
After plummeting several hundred feet into the ground, it's fine?
A little
It's-
too fine.
Have
It's
you ever
look,
seen?
It's actually just a fine mist.
Have you
What?
ever seen that tree that they planted upside down and then started to grow? It's kind of like that now.
Here's the thing. You were on a very tall tree. And you may notice that if you look at it and kind of looked at it, it's not quite as tall a tree now. In fact, it has quite a bit larger of a root system. One singular root that goes very deep underground.
Hanao's kind of after taking a break and resting after, nearly dying, he kind of just puts both hands on his hips and looks up at this tree, nods proudly.
So, the question is, what does everybody do? You have made your way to this hidden camp, and after, let's say, a forceful evacuation, you now have it to yourselves, it seems. Around you, you see a couple of smaller buildings, a path. This is actually a larger clearing than you'd think. And of course, the large barn-like, maybe more even close to hangar-like building that the research chief came from.
I think Gunhild and Ferris are kind of, particularly because Ferris isn't here, they're be busy probably just disposing of the bodies for the moment. At least in the time immediately following the combat.
After,
By disposing, I mean burning.
yeah. After, Hunhow proudly admired his wood, he would go ahead and help them gather up the bodies and not so much set them on fire. That's more Gunhild's, territory.
Malkesh is willing to help with the burning.
Please don't roll for
Not the
pocket rocket on
carrying,
the
but the
corpses. Please don't pocket rocket the corpses.
No, come on, ritual flare gun spell.
Oh god.
Gonna be burning. I mean, destroying the evidence. Oh wait, no, other way around.
She's actually gonna seem to be taking it specifically upon herself to do it. It's not that she doesn't seem like she doesn't. It's not that she seems to have a problem with anybody else doing it. It's like she seems like she feels it's necessary for her to. Like to the point where she's actively trying to prevent anyone else from doing it. And just like, no, let me handle this.
Hunhow kind of put his hands up and take a step back. If she really feels that strongly about it, he's not gonna argue with her. Bruno's got angry eyebrows now.
He was probably good at the lifting part.
Technically, it was still burning as of the end of combat, so he's both lifting and incinerating.
He just smashed his face down on top of some skulls and it ended up looking like eyebrows.
It's just gore left over on his face. It just happens to be that shape.
Hunhow is concerned.
Just in general?
There's a few reasons to be concerned. One, there's gory eyebrows on the skeleton. Two, demonic grafting. This is a very concerning situation that they've all gathered themselves in.
He's recovered really well from
Just-
dying last time.
Everybody's just standing around the fire, telling old tales.
Yeah.
Malkesh brings out the seed mellows.
I was waiting for you to say that. Hunhow
No,
is
let me
even
forget that
more
one.
concerned.
It's just... You just see a look from Ambois to Malkesh. I'm not sure what type of flavor those will impart on them.
And
And now knows exactly how Gunhild feels every single day.
Did you always call her Gunfield?
I did, but I have had 3 glasses of wine, so I have an excuse.
Oh my god.
Gunfield hates grafting and Mondays.
Loves
Oh my
lasagna
God.
though.
You're thinking of Gunzorpazorp.
Zorp. Oh no.
Not to be confused with Hunhorp.
Oh, that just sounds like a gross noise you would make after drinking too much.
I'll get back to you on that.
Careful. The next day you get Hunhorp over. All
Take
right.
him into work today. I have unhorp. I'll be in tomorrow.
It's an infection of the wood.
Oh God.
All right. You successfully gather up, burn the bodies, to which kind of looking at the pyre, Florentine would say, would look and say, well, we should probably figure out what the rest they were doing here before anything else happens.
And destroy it, I'd hope. Hunhow gives kind of a pointed glare at Florentine.
This place is absolutely too dangerous to not be destroyed. I was worried I was going to have to argue with you against... Well, I'm pleasantly surprised.
And he'll
Dibs
shoot.
on any
We're not
short
monsters,
latches?
unlike some people. Well, okay, maybe some of us are, as she looks at Bruno. We're not monsters in the sense of, ethics, most of the time.
Bruno was.
You're not helping the point.
Sorry, he was.
We can discuss later.
Okay.
So the potential of demonic grafting is horrifying.
Oh, really? I had no idea.
How they would even think to get away with it, or for it not to lead down a path of destruction, is... She kind of pauses.
Arrogant. Hunhow interjects into the pause.
Yes, but I do think that I have a theory of how they may be going about this. Shall we investigate in further?
I think we should. Hunhow kind of looks at Gunhild. Are you going to be alright?
I'll be fine, but I want to know why. And she looks towards, yeah. Sorry.
Wow, that was that noise.
Yeah, that was. She looks towards Florentine and just says,
That's okay, I'm sure
When is
Florentine's
this-
been called worse.
Mr. Jonic insult. She looks towards Florentine and says, when we're done with this, I want to know why you're here, why you've been tracking us. We'll
Fine.
save that for later.
I'll tell you whatever you need to know. You, after all, have been very useful in this situation.
Not sure I like the sound of that, but we'll save it for later.
Right. Pretty much, she would approach and enter the hangar-like building. Melkesh, you would notice that Amboise is just kind of looking back and forth with kind of a strained look in his eyes.
Malkish notices and turns towards Bruno and says, watch the corpses for a bit. And Bruno just kind of walks on top of the corpses and just burns there with them. Malkish walks over to Amboise, kind of waiting for the rest of the group to, wander away a bit before he asks, is everything okay?
I'm not sure. Everything here is... I can remember, but I can't.
Was this one of your labs, you think?
It's a strong enough memory that it's really only the memories of my research that have permeated enough that I have some level of recollection, and I don't understand, Malkesh. Most people retain much more memories in death, even in violent death.
Must have been intentional then.
Yes,
Who
but
would have
is
done
it...
that to you, though?
I don't know. I worry I did it to myself.
Makash just kind of nods. All right, I do have one question though.
What's that?
Where would they carry the short lab coats?
Oh, well, I feel like we're heading into the main facility.
All right. So at least you still got some sort of memory left. Maybe we can make use of that.
Yes, yes.
I would be careful what you say next to Florentine, however.
I'm not even sure if she knows who I am.
That may be for the best.
No, I agree. As the rest of you enter the main building, you see essentially what looks like a massive grafting facility in the midst of being set up. The crates and devices coming in, parts being assembled, strange machines you don't entirely know, cages marked live samples, and other almost glowing, strange glowing red vats that seem to have dead samples or preserved tissue in them. And Florentine will step forward. It's like, this is an unthinkable scale, even for this.
Hunna is going to take a look around and see if there's any crates that are similar to what we were using as bait, more or less.
You will not only find that, you will find the crate that you used as bait.
Great bait.
Hunna's going to go ahead and point it out to the rest of the party. This is the crate we used as bait.
My parts! Lissy's
You
gonna
can-
go and have a look at the crates.
Right. Lissy, you won't even need a roll for this. You can pretty much put together what's happening here from your engineering expertise. Different crates marked from different locations. All of this has been designed so that whoever is manufacturing these parts wouldn't be able to put together what they're for from the parts they made alone. There seems to be multiple sources.
Okay, I'll probably relay that to everybody else so that we don't have to go on a mission to hunt down all the people that were involved in this.
Hunha's just going to kind of let out a heavy sigh in response to that. And how are we going to know who's behind this? If they've split everything up like this.
Well, fortunately enough, Florentine would speak. One of the reasons I needed you to find here is for me to put together the evidence to act on who I believe is behind this within the Empire.
Now kind of gives Florentina a look and says, I certainly hope you're not thinking of taking any of this equipment back to the library.
Lissy looks up, goes, ah! Oh, okay.
She looks to Hunhao and just kind of meets his accusatory gaze and says, I'm going to set this straight. I have absolutely no interest in a path of research that would only bring disaster to this world, and this is exactly what we're looking at. Even the regular sort of grafting is untenable at this scale. Not only is it not only is it giving weak minds dangerous powers, it's giving opportunities for the demonic scourge to enter this world.
Trust me, I understand the threat of the demons better than just about anyone, and that's why this place needs to be torn down brick by brick if need be. And everything in it cast back to the dirt. I have no problem with you looking over the equipment to find out who's behind this. But none of this gets cataloged. I know you, as strongly as you've said it, do not believe in this sort of research. But if this gets cataloged, put in the back of the library somewhere, how long until somebody curious comes along and decides to revive this sort of work?
She kind of waves her hand. This I already know how to do. This I learned from Stillnock. I helped him devise this. I agree. It's why I've kept it from the library, from the Empire, in case something like this happens.
I'm sorry. Did you say that you helped devise this?
Look,
Gunville just chimes in with this, and you said the Stillinox. You helped them with this.
No, not the Stillinox. The Stillinox they've gone off the rails completely. I'm talking about Stillnock the Silver. She kind of walks on. Everything here is... Look, almost every major conflict in the past 100, 200, 300 years has been over arguments of how to best deal with the demonic threat. You have to understand, it is my life's work to figure out that, and it is one of the reasons why I had to part ways with the Silver Dragon. But there's a level of reason that you have to stop at. And when it comes to trying to, the foolish inclination that we can somehow use this power against them, when it's historically what's led us to the brink of destruction every time, we need to find another way.
Having quietly walked in on the conversation, not bringing any attention, he kind of gets in about the time she's talking about, right after the argument about with Hunhao about archiving things, and pretty much as soon as she says Stillnock the Silver, Malkesh kind of mouths the name back at Amboise. Doesn't say it out loud, and he's short enough. He's probably not easily visible behind Hunhao and Gunhill.
And
He's also wearing a mask.
Amboise would just nod back.
Malkesh kind of goes silent for a little bit as he listens. Huh. But he does not interrupt, sorry. Internal realization more than anything.
What we need to find is the thing that I can't make. That only Stillnock could have made. And if my hunch is correct about this, then that will not only find out the purpose of this facility and what they're trying to do, but hopefully find exactly who. I'm moving. Oh, go ahead.
Well, Hunhow would kind of nod solemnly at that and just, well, what are we looking for? Specifically.
It would probably be, let's see, prominent, 2 crystals, 2 vats, 1 holding area for a subject, wires. Though, who knows what they've done to it.
So you don't know if it'd be bigger or smaller than its last form.
In its form, I imagined it would probably take up a room. So it's not here, but this would be the facility that would have it.
Malkesh kind of looks down at Ambois and sort of shrugs his shoulder. Any ideas?
Ambois would kind of look and then start walking and kind of following his instincts the best he could. As Florentine would just begin searching this room and looking at the doors.
Malkesh, casually, or at least as casually as he can, would wander behind Ambois.
Hunhow's gonna be keeping an eye on Malkesh, not for anything he picked up on the conversation between Malkesh and Ambois, because he didn't hear that, but he knows that somebody probably should keep an eye on Malkesh just to be safe.
Fair
Never
assessment.
know what he's gonna do.
His
All
other
right.
eye he's keeping on Lissy. Again, just to be safe.
Imagine Lissy has crawled into the crate of parts by this point.
So-
He is definitely crawling into crates of parts.
So we're gonna call this Search Party 1. Which means Search Party 2 is 2 dragon best friends.
Dragon
Wonderful.
besties!
Um,
There's no nonchalant icon I can put on his token.
so let's say, with
Ferris is
everybody,
just outside playing with sticks, practicing his dub spells.
Ferris is following along with Search Party 2.
Alright.
So we can assume that anything that Gunhild and Florentine say between each other, Ferris would know as well. Everybody, what's something interesting you find in this facility?
Prophecy shards! No, I'm just kidding. That would be cheating.
What's something interesting and reasonable you find?
You asked.
What's something we could find?
Yeah.
Construction diagrams?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Blueprints.
Maybe an attempt at miniaturization, or at least descaling.
Yeah. You see a diagram, and it essentially is a very, very technical drawing of, like, it looks like a 3-layered structure, and each layer has torches on it, and then like a diagram of it going into a smaller puck-like form. You can see that the first 3-layer structure with torches may be covered in some sort of frosting.
We found instant cake.
Even
Uh,
better, we found the blueprints for instant
Oh
cake.
god.
No, you find a whole bunch of blueprints of this essentially grafting equipment. A lot of it are machines that maintain life support, or what seem to be. Does somebody want to give me a roll to kind of analyze these documents?
I mean, I would usually defer to Lissy on this one, I'll be honest. But if it's alchemical in any way, I can give it a shot.
Well, there might be a little bit. Like, it seems like there's a lot of moving of fluids.
Well, what I was gonna ask was, before I completely forgot. Shit. Do these blueprints, Dan, can I tell whether or not they're competent, whether or not they're from somebody who knows what they're talking about?
For comparison, they're not as good as the diagrams you found in the Guildhome lab. This seems to be the diagrams of somebody who's reverse engineering something.
Oh, that's moderately worse. Okay. Yeah, I'll give it a check, a tinkerer check. Any particular skill?
This would be intelligence based.
That's pretty
Yeah,
There you
that's
go.
a good number. Yeah.
Finally.
No, you essentially, through the diagram, seem you find that a lot of it's trying to move what seemed like the entire process seems to be designed around dragonic or dragon parts, not dragonic parts. From what you can gather, because dragons are innately magical beings, as such, when you graft a part onto them and infuse a subject with dragonic essence, it takes and it doesn't reject in the same way, to the point that even a large, massive dragon arm would almost shrink and become appropriate to whoever it was attached to. The difficulty here seems to be whoever made these plans are trying to apply this to demonic parts instead, which don't have the same correlation with essence. And a lot of it seems to be either restraining or kind of putting it down, and or being able to kind of quickly terminate a subject. This seems like a more brutal process than...
Well, yeah, because it would reject it, wouldn't it?
You, in fact, find some notations that... and one phrase that sticks out to you is, when the subject retains intelligence, common crusader methods for demonic subjugation are successful. However, if we could harness the power of the memory, this would be unnecessary.
Oh.
What'd you find, Lizzie?
Well, okay, please correct me if I'm wrong, but after that sentence, I think I found Carnifex.
But he's at a desk.
He is, and he's doing a very good job at his desk. Here, just read this part.
Akash reads it, looks at her, looks back to it. I don't understand what that means.
I'm not 100% sure I do.
Okay then. Well,
But
then...
I feel a little bit ill, if I'm completely honest.
All right then. I guess we should keep looking then. You might want to hold on to those plans just in case.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. Actually,
Probably,
out of
probably
cur-
talk with Gunhild or someone that's known Carnifex longer.
Dan,
Yes.
would Lissy be able to? Not that I would, you understand, but would Lissy be able to actually make something or understand enough to make something like this?
Well, that was a 30 on this Tinkerer check. You can... This is, once again, not that you would, but you could definitely put this together.
Okay, that's my ego better. Okay, alright. I just wanted to know that for my own pride. Thank you very much.
However,
Let's go look at the living subjects.
However, there
Sorry,
does
Dan.
seem to be one diagram you find that seem to be attaching pieces that you can understand to something that's not in your expertise. In fact, you can tell just from the associations that it's closer to some of the experiments that Orlando and Rixus had done with memory.
I don't feel like I have an appropriate reaction to that.
What's sad is Malkesh was gone for all of that, so
God damn it!
it's not even like you could tell me and I'd be like, oh hey, and well, this also. I no idea.
And Boss seems to be on to something and kind of takes off ahead.
Malkesh keeps up.
Gunhild, what are you finding? What's your reaction?
Overwhelmed, I suppose. Like she's just having a hard time processing that, you know, this thing that they've been, at least she's been railing against this whole time, is just like taking a step towards, you know, this demonic angle. But not being as technically inclined as some of the rest of the group. I think a lot of it's just going to be kind of confusion and anger. But I honestly kind of reaching. I'm not quite sure what, if there's anything specifically that she'd find to like capture her interest more than just wanting to smash everything and just destroy the place.
Right. You almost get a glance from Florentine, who looks and just goes, "Focus, focus, we'll get to destroy this all soon enough. Shouldn't exist."
It's not as though you have to tell me that. Just, what are we supposed to glean from this? What are you supposed to find? Some reversal process? Some sort of way to that suddenly makes us better, improves the situation? We already know people are doing this, so what else is there to do here? Besides try to track down the source.
It's... Would you believe me if I'm wrong and we don't find what we're looking for? Me telling you would cause you much more distress than you not knowing.
There's already so much that I think it'd be bad enough to not know the answer and worse to know what the answer is.
Well, let me at least tell you this. My focus when I worked with Still Not was more on the essence half of the grafting equation. I perhaps for different reasons than you, have tried to avoid that process as much as possible. I've only performed 2. And I was caught on to the fact that someone was trying to piece out the process, well, when shortly before we first met. Ambois would paw up against a door. You're not going to believe this. But it's not that I remember what this room is for. It's that I can feel a draw to it.
Yeah, good enough for me. Here's, why don't you step back? Lokesh kind of walks forward to the door and kind of looks at it. I'm assuming it has handles. I mean, what is the...
Yeah. It is, however, locked.
How tough is the door?
Here we go.
You knock on it, it's a solid metal door.
Hun, how you think you can open this door, or should I try something tricky?
Hunhow kind of looks at the door. He'd tap on it once and see that it is pretty solid metal. Then he's gonna take a look at the lock and what does he see, Dan?
He sees... Essentially, it looks like almost a... It looks like a locking device around almost like a valve type locking mechanism, almost as if like this is, by turning this, it would cause bars on the other side of the door to either come in or spread out.
Well, Hunnow's not gonna understand any of that because he's not very mechanically inclined. He's just gonna kind of look at Malkesh and shake his head. I think you'll sooner take out the wall than this door.
I can do that.
I'm not sure that would be the best idea. If you turn that wall into projectiles into that room, well, we would destroy everything in there, which not necessarily a bad thing, but perhaps we might want to take a look at it before we blow it up.
Oh, fine. Elkes kind of goes and puts his fingers to the lip and does a really sharp whistle to get Lissy's attention.
Parts scatter as she falls out of a bin. What? What?
We need this door unlocked. Hanho doesn't think me blowing up the wall is a good choice.
Well, it's a choice.
It's an option for sure.
Well,
I
yeah.
don't think it should be our first choice, though. Lissy, if we would take a look at it, please.
Well, I ain't gonna be able to look at it from down here, am I? Pick me up.
Hunhow just kind of sighs, but he's gonna go ahead and pick up the bird and hold her up to the lock.
She splays like her feathers out and looks inside and then listens for a second and then looks inside again. Background check, Dan?
Dexterity based if you are trying to pick this lock.
Oh yes.
That'll
That's a common
fucking
number.
do.
Now, with these locks, you gotta remember that, you know, they're pretty trapped. So, like, unless you want to get stabbed in the unmentionables, I'm gonna assume you don't want to get stabbed in the unmentionables. I don't know how you guys work, but
I'd like to avoid it.
you have to do this and
Please.
this and this, and then there's a click and click and a click again. And then a final click and the door opens.
Yeah. It slides open. You hear the sound of bars scraping on the other side, and it's a heavy door you'll have to push through.
Hunhow's gonna put Lissy down and call out to Florentine and Gunhild before they open the door. Hey, we got this door open.
No, we're
Thank you
not
for
fine.
not using me to open the door.
We're not finding
shoots
anything over here.
Hunhow a dirty look.
Not much to find in this direction, so let's take a look.
Hunhow. Yes.
Quick background check, Dan, for short lab coat. My vest has been impaled 3 times in this campaign. It's gone now.
Why don't you just get a normal lab coat and make it shorter? Why
Guess
did we
what?
put it in the cake thing?
Because I don't need
We'll
a
just
pocket
get
lab
you-
coat.
We'll just get you a normal lab coat and make it a pocket lab coat.
Right, but
I
then
mean,
he...
that just make it an instant lab coat.
Yeah, then he gets wet and it just explodes on him.
Well, I, don't
I
have
failed to
investing
see
ring
the
attack.
problem.
Can you imagine
no,
that just impaled?
hey, yeah, no, give me a check for searching for some clothes.
It's an instant flotation device.
Oh my god.
Not only do you find a lab coat in your size, well, maybe it's not totally snug. You feel like it may be made for a gnome rather than a goblin. But you also find kind of like a... You find like a really neat kind of belt with a whole bunch of pockets and room for tools and... Like, it's not magical, but it's useful.
Yeah, well, gosh, is like snazzy.
Is there a
Puts the lab
symbol
coat on.
on the center of the belt that kind of looks like, oh, I don't know, a bat on a yellow background?
No.
That seemed pretty concrete.
Pun denied.
Aw. He doesn't get a utility belt. I'm sorry. You're not going to get your Malkesh shark repellent.
To be fair, I had a utility belt. I switched
Now
it
he's
out for
got it.
something else.
Now he's got a utility bolero.
You open the door, and as the light creaks in, you actually see a machine similar to what Florentine had described. Flanking either side of a chair, there's just a large, massive device that takes up most of the room. You see 2 effectively empty vats that kind of lead into various little pipettes that end in essentially injector needles, as well as in the background a whole bunch of wires that lead into what looks like something that sits on somebody's head. There's in the nearby desks, there's papers and books, but the most unsettling thing is that there is somebody sitting strapped into that chair with this head device on them. And they're looking blankly forward. And they blink every now and then.
Malkesh kind of rushes forward between the legs of the people, kind of, slack-jawed looking at it, and goes to see what the guy's vitals are.
He's healthy.
Just stuck going
Now's
You-
gonna move forward and start going at trying to get this thing off of him.
Wait, don't do that. You don't know if that'll kill him.
How kind of freezes midair, his hand's still on one of the straps, but otherwise stands perfectly still, waiting for Malkesh's
I mean, we can kill him in a minute. Just let's check first.
Let's try not to kill him.
I don't know. He'd be the easiest kill we've had all day.
That's
Hold
not
on.
a good thing.
So you say he's healthy, right? But he's
He is
kinda
healthy.
staring.
He is staring.
You say he's catatonic, or is he just kind of like? How would you describe his actual
He is just.
capability? He's not trying to move, or he can't.
He is blinking, looking forward. When Hunhao went to move him, he wouldn't really react, but would just kind of fall. Would kind of fall limp if he was moved. Do you want to give me a doctoring style check?
I sure can.
Yes. Professor Dr. Malkesh.
And of course, anytime medical comes up, I roll badly.
Right.
But finding clothes, nah, I get an 18 on that.
Yeah, no. You're not clued into the nature of the device, but in your medical opinion, you feel like this isn't somebody who's locked in or trying to respond. You feel like you're just looking at a vegetable.
So there really is no improvement from his current condition, even if removed from the machine.
That is your medical opinion.
Malkesh kind of looks back. Well, physically he's all here, but there's not much left upstairs, if you understand. So I guess we can remove him if you feel that would be the best choice.
I could have a look at the machinery. I might need some of Florentine's help.
How many health points does he have, Dan?
I would say.
This guy isn't gonna go Weapon X on us, is he? He isn't naked, is he?
He's kind of in. He's mostly naked, and he has kind of similar. Is marked for surgery.
Well, that's not good.
I would say he has. You know what? I would say he has 19 hit points.
Malkesh just basically puts his hands over his eyes and death knells him right there.
Get
Just like pulling the plug.
The soul leaves his body, and as you get it, your interaction with this soul is almost as if it's a soul that's confused over who it is.
Strange skinning based thing. Can Malkesh hold the soul instead of necessarily throwing it to someone?
Absolutely.
Like watch it? Like he's kind of like he basically closes the eyes and sort of respectfully yanks the soul out and then just kind of watches the soul kind of like bounce around on his hand. I'm imagining sort of like a small flame flickering.
Yes. You can add that to your inventory if you want. Observed soul.
I think I will. I was gonna heal Hunhao, but I think I'm gonna keep it otherwise.
Now this time has, was undoing the straps to get this guy off the chair, but when Malkesh sort of unceremoniously but respectfully gives him a coup de grace, he just kind of looks at Malkesh and gives him a slight little respectful nod before continuing to undo the straps, careful to make sure that the man doesn't just flop on the floor after his restraints are undone.
Malkesh kind of climbs off the chair, still holding the soul, and kind of tucks it into his what would be where his vest pocket is, but it kind of just disappears into the hole in his chest. Worrying.
And it would be at this point that Florentine would walk in and say, "Ah, I'm not sure if I'm glad to see this or not." And she kind of would walk up and see, and it's like, no, that's... I wonder how many vegetables they've created. I don't understand. And she would just go to kind of the desk reading the documents there.
Malkesh walks away. He seems to have a concerned, almost dour expression on his face and kind of walks back towards Amboise.
Amboise kind of careful that he doesn't catch Florentine's attention. This is once again very strange, but the same feeling I got from the door, I'm getting from the machine.
I don't think they ever got it working right.
No.
Our soul just been sitting there, brain dead. Death is one thing, but to sever that consciousness is not fair.
We're dealing with people who are capable of... I don't like to agree with our new friend here, but this is a monstrous abuse of technology.
I hate to say it, but you would know best, wouldn't you? I don't mean that in a disrespectful sense, my friend, but... well, behold your work.
What did I do? Florentine would kind of shout up. Yes, this is it. Everybody in.
Malkesh kind of goes against a corner and sits down and just kind of lost in thought. Excuse me.
Hunhoud, has probably been looking over the machine, not really understanding what he's looking at, and honestly getting a little frustrated, both with the fact that this awful thing exists and that he doesn't understand it, so he kind of folds his arms and comes on over to see what Florentine has to say.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned Gunhill would have taken note of Malkesh's kind of surprising reaction to the events that just unfolded. But she seems to kind of key that he needs a moment to himself and goes over to where Florentine is.
What you're looking at here is a device being used not for its original purpose. This was Stilnock's plan to save this world, or at least what he could salvage of it. See, look. Here's the part that that terrible creature, that whatever they did to. Part of it is utilizing 2 additional bits of memory to rewire, someone's own memory in such a way that, it wouldn't override their own personality, but would give them a certain ability from the memory that it was trying to recreate. How familiar are you with crystallized memories?
We've run into them once before, and he kind of looks to the party, not knowing if the encounter where they'd seen them underwater was the only time they'd seen crystallized memories.
Yep, just the once.
Well, look. if you see that one up there, and she points to one that's kind of glowing blue, and it's almost perfect, like a perfect oval, flawless. That is the complete record of someone's life. And that is what the Dragon of Razarez stole from the Imperial hero. Those are the memories of Arthur Dullendal. And she kind of looks. There may be some bits and pieces of his personality that would transfer using this device, but I imagine the key thing that they're concerned with is why he was such an effective fighter against the demonic scourge in the first, well, the war against the Oracle. Because he, even when captured multiple times, when he went into rifts to save friends, was absolutely incorruptible. A rare trait. The other one, and she points to another crystal. This one is more jagged, more imperfections. One that looks like it was made from somebody who didn't quite have the same idea of what they were doing, is a modification to the machine. Paranoia is a strong urge in dragons. And as such, Stillnoct made this machine so that it wouldn't activate or interact without access to his own memories. So similarly, my assumption is that is the complete archive of Stillnoct the Silver's memories. Not as expertly done as the first, but the first was done by two of the most powerful dragons on the planet. And both required the murder of their subjects. Everyone following me so far?
So
I
far,
suppose.
yes.
Mm-hmm. And it's not... This isn't what this was made for. I believe that they're trying to essentially rewire people with the trait of incorruptibility using the machine, which is useless. It may stick 1 in 200 times.
Malkesh kind of steps forward. Are you saying they're trying to make them incorruptible so that they can then graft demon parts without consequences?
I believe you're correct in that case.
That's a hell of a roundabout way to do something like that.
As I said, it's not this machine's purpose. You're aware of the Stillnoct family, correct?
Of course.
Well, part of it is each and every one of those are orphans drawn from the war. War leaves no shortage of those. From that, Stillnoct had a series of subjects, particularly ones that he kept a close eye on, were ones with latent shape-changing abilities. Those, if taken at an infantile stage, could survive this process with a near 80-90% success rate. And that's just part one. The vats there. They're meant to contain draconic essence.
Wait, where would they get that from?
Well, as I said, this is a bit my area of expertise, and I assume nowhere, and that's why they're empty. You can pull up any white or young dragon, have them donate their essence, but for it to be strong enough for this process, it has to be an elder dragon.
What about the graveyard?
More than possible. That would be a place you'd be able to get it these days.
Well, that leads us
don't-
a lead. That's their next piece, right?
Well, yes, because, as said, this was Stillnock's plan to try to save this world. He witnessed essentially one of his elder dragon peers had a almost cult-like tribe of worshippers who would drink his essence. And as such, they'd be granted strength and almost dragon-like abilities. As far as I can tell, well, as far as I assumed recently, this machine had only been arguably successfully used once. She kind of looks visibly upset as she walks back over to the table. Maybe twice. And she starts looking through the book some more.
Twice on who?
Well, infants, I suppose. But... And she... Oh, this is... I don't think I can tell you this without you putting two and two together on the slightly personal reason for wanting to find this machine, but... Well... The Elder Dragons were a part of this plan as well and willingly donated their essence. And Stillnoct wanted to create incorruptible warriors, or at least incorruptible beings that had the abilities of dragons, their intelligence, their magical aptitude, because dragons, unfortunately, with paranoia and greed and pride running through their veins, are eminently corruptible. So he, even after believing what Erasmus had done was unforgivable, still utilized the memory of the hero, his own, and then the essence of one elder blue dragon, picked for her intelligence, her cunning and magical ability, and the other elder red dragon for their strength and tenacity. The Elder Dragons, Sapphire and Tyranno.
And you said this was used on infants. Where would they have gotten these children?
I just told you.
Orphans of the war?
Still not created an entire network collecting orphans for their special abilities. Finding the ones he needed would just take time rather than effort. And now I have confirmation that whoever found this place and has been trying to use it had partially enough ingredients to try to run this a second time.
It didn't succeed.
No, not this. As I said, this is a corruption of it. They're not using any of the essence infusers. They're not picking the appropriate subjects with the latent shape changing abilities, and they're trying to rewire adult brains, which, well, think of everything you know. Just imagine what it would do to you if you were tried to change all of that. Versus if, when you were still young and shapeable, you could slide that in there.
Yeah.
What? She kind of looks around. I thought that was clear.
Hanhao just shakes his head and sort of turns his back so that he's looking at the machine now. This thing is... It can't be allowed to run again.
No.
Wait, you're saying I can actually blow it up this time?
We need to return it to the Earth. So, yes.
Sounds a lot like blowing it up.
Yes, it is.
Gunhild has been very quiet and looks very... She hasn't said much this whole time. And as Florentine has just been talking about the process and essence and so on. And she kind of hears them talking about destroying it. She just adds, nothing like this should be allowed to exist. This can't happen. And she just like kind of mutters to herself without realizing it. She just adds the word again.
Well,
Florentine,
what?
you said you'd tell me anything I wanted to know once this was over. Am I wrong?
No, you found exactly what I'm looking for. I now have all the proof I need to move against my enemies in the Empire.
Then you must know exactly what I am.
Well, I do.
And let's discuss after we destroy this abomination.
Malkash claps his hands together. Sounds good. Lissy, I think you get first pick on parts.
I'm going to rig the rest of this area with explosive runes. Does
Also-
anybody want to help me?
Also, no, Lissy, empty your pockets. Not one scrap of this survives.
Gunhild just kind of passes. I'm gonna go outside and make sure that everything out there is been taken care of. I'll leave this
Ferris.
to the rest of you.
Ferris will also volunteer.
Good Ferris.
Hunhao is making sure Lissy empties her pockets of all the parts she has stolen.
Hunhao is tipping Lissy upside down and shaking her. For parts.
Basically!
Well, okay, should Hunhao, some of these parts are useful. Whole components, you're absolutely correct. None of this should survive, but there are parts here that we might find useful.
It's all.
She has a point. Machinery is not evil by itself. It's how it's used.
Ambois would kind of look up. Particularly, I'm conflicted about recovering one part.
Would it help with your memories?
If what Florentine said is correct, it is my memories.